Lakers Nation, I need you to sit down, put the snack down, and make sure you are recording this, because I am about to tell you about the most stunning, out of nowhere, nobody on planet Earth saw it coming bombshell of the entire NBA offseason. And if you click off before the end, you are going to miss the part where I explain how on earth this actually happened. Because it did happen. I am not speculating. I am not asking what if. I watched Shams Charania go on ESPN with that look, that dead serious, I have already triple checked this look, and drop a sentence that made my entire timeline detonate at the exact same second. He put his full credibility on the line, looked into that camera, and reported that Kawhi Leonard is a Los Angeles Laker. Done, signed, official. And the funniest part, the part that is so perfectly on brand it almost hurts, is that the most private, most secretive man in the entire sport pulled off the biggest free agent shocker in years without a single soul seeing it coming. Of course he did. Of course Kawhi Leonard would join the Lakers the way a cat knocks a glass off a table, silently, with zero warning, staring at you the whole time. Now I already know your first reaction, because it was mine too. You are sitting there going, wait, how? Kawhi was under contract with the Clippers. He was supposed to make over $50 million next season. He was not even supposed to be a free agent until 2027. So how is he suddenly putting on the purple and gold? And that, my friends, is exactly why you cannot click away, because the answer is the part that turns this from a crazy rumor into a real, explainable, dot-connecting story. And I have spent the last few hours doing the detective work, so you do not have to. Hey, what's up everyone? Real quick before we get into everything, that like button is literally what determines if this reaches hundreds or thousands of fans. Takes 1 second but makes a huge impact on the channel's growth. Just smash that like button right now. It's the easiest thing you can do, but honestly the biggest way to support this content. Every single like pushes this further, so hit it now. Let me walk you through it like a crime scene, because that is basically what this is. For months, there has been a dark cloud hanging over the Clippers organization, an NBA investigation into whether the team circumvented the salary cap to pay Kawhi Leonard, going all the way back to that endorsement arrangement with a now-defunct company during his free agency years ago. Owner Steve Ballmer has been right in the middle of it, and everyone knew the league was nearing the end of that investigation, with Commissioner Adam Silver even addressing it publicly before the finals. The whispers were always the same. If the league found wrongdoing, the punishments could be severe. Lost draft picks, massive fines, suspensions for team executives. But there was always one other possibility lurking in the background, the nuclear option, the one nobody wanted to say too loudly. And that possibility was that the consequences of all of this could blow open Kawhi Leonard's contract situation entirely and send him into free agency far earlier than anyone planned. That is the domino. That is the thing that had to fall for any of this to be possible. And according to the reporting, that domino fell, and the moment it did, Kawhi Leonard was suddenly, shockingly available. And while every other team in the league was still processing the news, the Lakers had already moved. So let me explain why. Of all the teams on the planet, it was the Lakers who landed him, because once you understand their situation, you will understand why this was the most logical landing spot, hiding in plain sight the entire time. While other contenders were capped out, buried in luxury tax penalties, unable to even dream about adding a player of this caliber, the Lakers had been quietly sitting on something all season long: cap space, real, meaningful, championship-altering flexibility. We are talking about a team that could clear something in the neighborhood of $40+ million in room. Do you understand how rare that is for a team that already employs one of the 3 best offensive players on the planet? It is almost unheard of. Rob Pelinka spent the entire season protecting that flexibility, keeping his powder dry, and at the time, half of you were probably yelling at your screen wondering why they were not spending it. Now you know, they were waiting. They were waiting for a moment exactly like this one, when a generational two-way superstar would fall out of the sky, and they would be the only contender financially positioned to catch him. And here is the part that should make every single one of you grin, the homecoming angle that makes this more than just basketball. Kawhi Leonard is from here. He grew up in Southern California. This is not some far-flung free agent who needed to be sold on the city, the lifestyle, the weather, the in and out. This is a hometown kid who, at 34 years old, turning 35 at the end of this month, gets to come finish his career in the building that means more than any other building in the sport, wearing the most iconic jersey in basketball, chasing one more ring at home. For a player who has spent his entire career being the most low-key, no drama, just here to work guy in the league, the chance to quietly slide into the Lakers and chase a title alongside Luka Doncic is exactly the kind of move that fits how this man has always operated. No fanfare, no drama, just boardman gets paid and then boardman goes and tries to win another championship. Speaking of which, let me give you the picture that should have you absolutely buzzing, because the fit on the court is downright frightening. You have Luka Doncic, a man who just led the entire NBA in scoring at over 33 points a night, the best offensive engine in the sport, a player who demands so much defensive attention that everyone around him eats. And the one single thing that Luka teams have always needed is a wing who can guard the other team's best perimeter player and also knock down a shot when the defense collapses. That is the entire job description of Kawhi Leonard. That is who he is. He is a two-way monster, a former Defensive Player of the Year, a two-time champion, a two-time Finals MVP, a man who just put up one of the most efficient scoring seasons of his entire career. He is, quite literally, the exact archetype the Lakers have been chasing in their wildest dreams ever since they brought Luka into the building. Now picture it with the rest of the roster. The Lakers' top priority this offseason was always re-signing Austin Reeves, who declined his player option after averaging over 23 points a game, looking to cash in on the best stretch of his career. Imagine a core of Luka Doncic, Austin Reeves, and Kawhi Leonard. Imagine the shot creation. Imagine Luka and Reeves running the show offensively while Kawhi takes the toughest defensive assignment off the floor every single night, the exact assignment that used to torch the Lakers in the playoffs. That is not a team that gets swept out of the second round again. That is a team built to go toe-to-toe with the absolute best of the West, the same conference that just bounced them while Luka was sitting in a suit nursing a hamstring injury. The Lakers got knocked out this spring with their stars compromised. Now imagine that same group healthy and add a player like Kawhi Leonard to it. You see why Shams was willing to stake his entire reputation on this? You see why this is the biggest story of the summer, but I promised you a detail, the one that explains how the Lakers actually pulled this off without anybody catching wind of it, and I am not going to make you wait any longer, because this is the part that is so quintessentially Kawhi that I genuinely laughed out loud when I pieced it together. Here is the thing about Kawhi Leonard, this man is a vault. He is the single most private, most tight-lipped, most impossible to read superstar in the history of the league. This is the guy who once famously tried to convince everyone he was a fun guy by laughing the most mechanical laugh ever captured on camera. This is a guy whose own teammates have said they had no idea what he was thinking half the time. And this is a guy whose free agency has historically been run not through a big-time agent doing media tours, but quietly through his inner circle, most famously his uncle, who became legendary around the league for the very private, very particular way he handled Kawhi's business. So when a player like that decides he wants to make a move, and his camp operates in total silence, of course it leaks out as a complete surprise. There was no parade of meetings broadcast on television. There was no week-long will he won't he saga, there was just silence, and then there was Shams, and then there was a Laker. That is not a bug in this story, that is the whole feature. The secrecy is exactly why nobody saw it coming, and it is exactly why it is so perfectly, hilariously on brand. Now I have to give you the full picture because I am not going to be one of those channels that only feeds you the good stuff. There are real questions here and you deserve to hear them. Kawhi Leonard turns 35 this month, and his history with injuries and load management is well documented. This is a player who has missed significant time over the years, a player the Lakers will almost certainly need to manage carefully throughout the regular season to keep him fresh for the games that matter. So if you are dreaming of 82 games of peak Kawhi, pump the brakes a little. The smarter expectation is a carefully managed superstar who the Lakers are saving for the spring. And here is a little bonus irony for you. You now have potentially two of the most famously load-managed veterans in recent memory on the same roster, depending on what happens with LeBron, which means the Lakers' medical and performance staff might be the most important people in the entire organization next season. But you know what? For a team chasing a championship, a healthy Kawhi Leonard in May and June is worth 100 regular season load management nights in November. That is the bet, and it is a bet worth making. And that brings me to the one domino still wobbling in all of this, the name that hangs over every single Lakers decision, and that name is LeBron James. LeBron is an unrestricted free agent. He is 41 years old. He has openly wondered whether he even wants a 24th season. And the math that lets the Lakers create the kind of room needed to add a star like Kawhi runs directly through what LeBron decides to do. If LeBron comes back at a massive number, the books get complicated fast. If he takes less, or if he decides to move on entirely, suddenly the runway clears and the Lakers can build the exact roster they want around Luka and Kawhi. So as you are celebrating this bombshell, keep one eye on the king, because his decision is the final piece that determines exactly what this roster looks like when the dust settles. Whatever LeBron does next is going to tell you everything. Let me put my detective hat on for a second, because the more you retrace the steps, the more the quiet little clues start to glow in the dark. Think about the timing. We are right on the doorstep of the NBA draft, the exact stretch of the calendar when the league's biggest dominoes always fall, when front offices are huddled in war rooms, reshaping their entire futures away from the cameras. Think about how the Lakers, all season long, kept passing on chances to spend that cap space, brushing off every suggestion that they needed to use it now. People called it indecision. I am starting to think it was patience, a front office quietly keeping its powder dry for a scenario almost nobody believed would actually materialize. And think about how Kawhi's camp has always operated in near total silence, handling his biggest decisions through a tight, trusted inner circle rather than a public bidding war. When you line all of that up, the silence stops looking like nothing happening and starts looking like everything happening, just where none of us could see it. The pieces were always there. We just needed the bombshell to connect them. And look, I have to be real with you. The comedy of this is undeniable, and I mean that with total affection. Kawhi Leonard is the most gloriously low-key superstar the sport has ever produced. This is a man whose idea of a celebration is a single nod. This is a man so allergic to the spotlight that his most viral moment is a laugh that sounded like a malfunctioning toaster trying to pass a personality test. This is a man who has turned saying absolutely nothing in interviews into an art form. And this guy, this walking vault, just joined the most glamorous, most camera-saturated, most spotlight-drenched franchise in the entire sport, in the entertainment capital of the world, to play next to one of the biggest international superstars on the planet. The most private man in basketball is about to be on every billboard in Los Angeles, whether he likes it or not. Somewhere, Kawhi is probably already dreading the media day photo shoot, and honestly, that mental image alone makes this the most entertaining signing of the summer. And let me zoom out to what this does to the entire Western Conference, because the ripple effects are massive. This is a conference absolutely loaded with dominant teams and dominant big men. The Thunder, who just swept the Lakers, the Spurs with their generational young core, the Nuggets with one of the greatest players alive. For the Lakers to compete in that meat grinder, they could not keep trotting out a roster with a glaring hole on the wing and hoping Luka outscored everybody. They needed a two-way difference maker who could swing a playoff series on both ends. That is precisely what Kawhi Leonard is. Adding him does not just nudge the Lakers up a tier. It fundamentally changes the math of the entire conference, turning a team that got swept in the second round into a club nobody in the West wants to see come spring. That is the kind of move that does not just shift one franchise's ceiling, it reshapes the balance of power across the whole sport, and it sends a message to the rest of the league that the Lakers are not interested in being a feel-good story that bows out in the second round. They are chasing banners again, and they just landed exactly the kind of player who wins them. So let me step back and connect all the dots for you one more time, because when you lay it all out, this stops looking like a fantasy and starts looking like the most logical shocker in years. A Clippers organization under a dark investigative cloud with severe consequences looming, a nuclear scenario that suddenly turned the best two-way wing of his generation into a free agent nobody expected. A Lakers front office that spent an entire season hoarding the exact cap flexibility needed to pounce. A hometown superstar with a chance to come finish his career at home, chasing a ring with the best young offensive engine in the sport. And the most secretive man in basketball pulling the whole thing off in total silence, the way only he could. Every single one of those things had to be true for this to happen. And somehow, against all odds, every single one of them was. I have been doing this long enough to know the difference between noise and a genuine bombshell, and everything about this one screams real. The way Shams delivered it, flat and certain, and putting his name on it. The way every financial and personal piece lines up. The way it is so perfectly, almost comically on brand for a player, this quiet to make this loud a move without a peep. This is not a rumor that fizzles by morning. This is the kind of news that reshapes the entire balance of power in the Western Conference, and it just landed in your lap, so now I am turning it over to you, Lakers Nation, because I want to know exactly how you are feeling right now. Do you believe this team with Luka Doncic, Austin Reeves, and Kawhi Leonard can finally get back to the finals and chase banner number 19? Or are you worried about the age, the health, and what it costs to keep this whole thing together? Drop your honest answer in the comments right now, because I am reading every single one, and I am already working on a follow-up video where I break down the exact roster the Lakers would run with Kawhi on board, position by position, the load management plan, the whole rotation, and what still has to happen with LeBron to make the money work. If you want to see that breakdown the moment it drops, you already know what to do. Hit that subscribe button, smash the like so this reaches every Lakers fan on the internet who needs to see it, and turn on that notification bell, because in an off season this wild, with dominoes falling this fast, I am going to be the first one breaking down every single twist for you in plain language, with no fake reports and no nonsense. The most secretive man in basketball just made the loudest move of the summer, and he made it in your colors. Do not look away now, because this is only the beginning.